morning. This is an update on the Queensland and New South Wales fires. It is out of control. What can I say? So there are more than 70 bushfires burning across New South Wales. It's a state of emergency declared here in Queensland. 3 people dead. They were found yesterday. There's 150 homes have been destroyed, and out of control bushfires blaze across Australia's east coast. Let's go and have a look at that. At least 100 homes have been destroyed in the bushfires, with 2 people dead and five unaccounted for. More than 35 people were injured, including 16 firefighters, and more than 80 fires were still burning throughout New South Wales and Queensland as of Saturday. So this is from yesterday. Let's have a look at some of these pictures. You gotta feel sorry for these people. Yes, we had a fire about half an hour away from us yesterday, but as far as I know, it's all safe.
It's coming towards us, mate. So just go, Chris. Go, Chris. I've got my foot on these. Yeah, that's all right. Just say keep going. It's coming towards us. Let's go. Oh, I feel the heat in that voice. Assist public. So we're at King of 2175 Lakes Way, Rainbow Flats. Between 300 and 500. So David, David 1, David 1, all the news right next to you. Yeah, David 1, go ahead. Yeah, just stand by. Yeah, we're right behind you. Yeah, we're about 400 metres, do you want to go? No water, 50 years now, 1927. Thanks, I'm going one brother. Yeah, go ahead, yeah, right 4 to the left and right, which way? 300. 500. Road, as far as step off as many units. Yeah, disregard us, alright, we're back on the main road.
Yeah, so that just makes me cry. New South Wales and Queensland fires will be dangerous on Tuesday again. Nowhere near as bad as what it was today, but it is going to vamp up. It's going to be hot, dry and windy. Authorities warn lives at risk as horror fire day predicted for New South Wales on Tuesday. New South Wales and Queensland fires rage as conditions expect to worsen. Firefighters are desperately trying to control devastating bushfires across New South Wales before a dangerous day of weather forecast for Tuesday, with the fire service warning lives will be at risk. We've already got 3 dead, which is extremely sad. The RFS says Tuesday will likely see widespread severe and extreme fire dangers from the Queensland border to the south coast and across the central west. Tuesday, the 12th of November, will be a dangerous day. With so many fires already burning, homes and lives will be at risk. On Sunday morning, 72 fires burning across New South Wales, 36 of which were not under control. It is Sunday today, guys. 11 fires remained at watch and act level. Fire Service Inspector Ben Shepherd says fire crews are doing all they can to control blazes already burning before Tuesday. At least 150 homes have been destroyed by the fires, although this number is likely to climb as detailed assessments begin. Fitzsimmons said other important community assets had also been lost in the fires. Yes, we're talking about bridges and schools, community halls, power poles. They got consumed in the path of a volatile, fast-moving fire. An estimated 2,000 people have used the more than 15 formal evacuation centres that have been set up. A woman who died as she tried to flee the weekend's devastating bushfire has been identified as 63-year-old Julie Fletcher. Her body was discovered last night in a burnt-out home in the town of Johns Rivers, 40 kilometres north of Taree on the mid-north coast. She had packed her bags and her car to try to escape the fire, but did not make it in time. Vivian Chaplin, who was 69, has also been named of one of the victims. Vivian, she had 40 to 50% of her body burned by these fires, and she was found unconscious, and she died in the Sydney hospital. Another one's been named. Okay, George Knoll from Waitalaba, found in a burnt-out car in Glen Innes. Oh, prayers for their families and friends, please. Bushfire emergency intensifies in central Queensland. Blaze destroys homes near Yeppoon. The bushfire crisis has intensified in central Queensland, with a blaze at emergency level at Adelaide Park, northwest of Yeppoon, while homes were lost overnight amid an ember attack. The blaze is part of the comparable Bungandara fire and is burning towards Nils Road and Adelaide Park Road as more than 60 fires burn across Queensland. Emergency services said it was now too late to leave and residents should seek shelter. Acting Fire Commissioner Mike Wassing said the focus today was on Cobbraball near Yeppoon, where two fires joined together last night. Oh dear. I'm really pleased to report that there are no injuries or loss of life in that area. It's a really active fire, and again today it will cause a lot of problems. He said there are unconfirmed reports of up to 16 dwellings that have been destroyed or damaged. Some of those will be homes, some of those will be sheds. The fire beyond Wednesday and Thursday, that will be our next issue up here in Queensland. Unprecedented event. I'm so sick of that word. Last night, a fast-moving fire at Cobbraball and Bungandara, west of Yeppoon, swept through in what authorities said was an unprecedented event. The Livingstone Shire Council said an estimated 16 buildings had been lost overnight near Yeppoon, and more than 6,000 hectares of grazing, agricultural and bushland were burnt. The fire was 14 kilometres long and 6 kilometres wide and burning on multiple fronts.
Pretty close to the houses, if you ask me.
A disaster declaration was made for the area last night, and police went door to door to hundreds of residents. Queensland Fire Emergency Services State Coordinator Neil Francis said many properties were under ember attack, making conditions extremely difficult for fire crews. Central Queensland resident Kathy Boys stayed to defend her house until her husband, who is a rural fire officer, told her to leave immediately. She said she had lost some cattle, but was unsure how many. The blaze intensified around midnight. Things just went pear-shaped from then. It just kicked off. The wind played havoc, chopping and changing, going every different direction, she said. More than 30 people took refuge in a basketball stadium in Yeppoon. The community had never seen anything like it. I've been hearing that these fires are not like anything that people have ever seen before. These places too, they've had no helicopters or aircraft water bombing, and they've also had no fire services there to help. Just a disaster, if you ask me. We have an active fire front that is now starting to ramp up, and the wind is picking up. We've got extra air assets which are coming in as well, because it's going to be a challenging fire given the terrain and the size of the fire front. The fire has been downgraded from emergency level to watch and act this morning, being Sunday, but residents are still being told to leave. Authorities said it was still too dangerous for rapid damage assessment crews to get into the area. Remarkably, some of the houses had very close calls but are still there. We've got an active fire, it's going to be dangerous, and it's 14-kilometre front. Wow, I would freak out if I had a fire that close to my home. No end in sight, the Bureau of Meteorology forecaster Dean Narramore said. Conditions would still be difficult for firefighters today, being Sunday. We got all the hot and dry westerly winds. The winds would not be as strong as Saturday, but there would be fresh bursts that would elevate the fire threat in the southeast. About 20 to 30 kilometre inland, going to see another fresh burst of these west to southwesterly winds, but they won't be as strong and as gusty as we've seen over the last 2 days. Conditions will ease on Monday, but would again intensify on Tuesday with another surface trough moving through southern Queensland. Wednesday could be pretty bad as well. We're expecting another burst of strong and gusty west to southwesterly winds, very dry air, which will lead us to widespread severe fire dangers across much of southeast Queensland. Sunshine Coast fire within containment lines. Oh, this is near Noosa, this one. It was terrible yesterday. On the Sunshine Coast, fire burning at emergency level near Noosa has been downgraded to watch and act. Firefighters managing to contain a blaze overnight. Oh, that's fantastic. Fire service said the fire was currently burning in a westerly direction, but that could shift early this afternoon. The fire is burning within containment lines now around Kirribar, but the threat is far from over, with dozens of fire crews spending another long night trying to contain the blaze. Let's have a look. Oh, we have no sound. Very windy here and very hot yesterday. We could smell smoke sometimes. Our sky was looking like this time here. Yesterday, authorities declared a state of emergency across more than half the state's local government areas. This is Queensland, with dangerous conditions expected to continue into the week. State emergency prohibits the lighting of all types of outdoor fires and bans certain activities that can cause fires to ignite. That is including lawn mowing, welding, and other things like that. Queensland Fire and Emergency Services Mike Wassing said fire crews were battling multiple blazes and all possible steps had been taken to prevent further fires. We're experiencing tinderbox-like conditions across much of the state, and it takes its one spark to start a fire that may burn for days.
Right, thousands have also been evacuated from their homes north of the border in Queensland, where firefighters, they are still battling 2 emergency fires. And for more on this, we're joined by Kev Reading from the QFES. And can you please tell us, Kev, what is the latest with those warnings? I do believe we do have a number of extreme fire danger ratings and severe fire danger ratings across the state.
Yeah, that's correct. Good morning. We still have 2 of our significant fires in the Sunshine Coast area. And last night we did have some fire conditions were extensive about 1 o'clock in the morning in the southern part west of the Gold Coast. Our conditions today move a little bit further north to around the Bundaberg and north up to Rockhampton, where we will see some severe conditions that we did see similar to yesterday in the southeast corner.
Kev, I know that area just north of Noosa very well, the Tewantin township cradle just up there on the north part of the river. There was talk last night that huge amounts of that area and the people there were evacuated or told to evacuate.
Yeah, that's correct. It was quite a lot of activity yesterday afternoon and last night. Overnight, we did have 500 people approximately staying in our evacuation centres in that part of the country. What's occurred with the fire activity has meant that we needed to evacuate them. We really thank the community for heeding the advice of police and emergency services to evacuate, and as a result, we haven't had any loss of life.
We're seeing a cool change that moved through New South Wales overnight and across into the southeast of Queensland this morning. How are the conditions there and what are you expecting over the weekend?
Yeah, well, the conditions in the southeast corner at the moment, it's quite a nice morning, albeit a little bit of red through the sky.
Having a little bit of a problem with the line there to Kevin.
A blaze is threatening homes around Port Macquarie on our north coast. Residents of Lake Cat-Eye had no choice this morning, telling 9 News they were running for their lives when gusty winds ignited a simmering bushfire, sending it straight for them.
The view from the balcony was bad enough. The sight of 2 RFS planes meant the day was going to get worse. The red scar of fire retardant, a last line of defence for residents at Lake Cat-Eye. On the ground, desperation, some mounting a grab and run operation.
I think she's honestly coming through, eh? She's coming around that dam. We're trying to get out of here now to save our lives.
Street after street, families bailing on their homes.
Just trying to grab a few things. I've only been in the house for a couple of months. Just some of our precious stuff.
It was left to the fireys to make a stand, along with those residents who did what they could with water pressure falling to a drizzle.
It's the grass here, the mulch. You got to watch.
And everywhere leaf blowers blasting out gutters in case of an ember attack.
Our whole lives are in this house, mate, you know, like there's not much we can do.
Pretty panicky right now, mate. It's right over there, so if it gets into this bush here, which we've asked the council to clear a bit, it's no good for us, we're gone.
Panicky for good reason, with the fire licking at backyards. And with a mountain of smoke stalking homes, sometimes the water bombing seemed like a drop in an ocean of flame. Mark Burrows, 9 News.
And that bushfire is right now moving away from the coast. You can see it here being blown by strong northeasterly winds straight towards the Pacific Highway. 9's Tiffany Genders is with crews in Lake Cat-Eye right now. Tiff, what's happening as we come to you?
Well, Pete, this bushfire is still out of control and at emergency level, and I'm told that the flames have burnt right up to the gardens at some homes in Lake Innes and at Lake Cat-Eye, but thankfully there have been no reported losses so far. Where we are right now, there are crews who are preparing residents in this area for what may come in the next few hours. You may also be able to hear water bombing aircraft. They are racing the clock.
All night long, the wind was coming like, yeah, it was a catastrophic fire, mate. Come down over the ridge. As you can see, it goes as high as hell. It went right up into the top of the trees. I actually had to take shelter or go because it was right here and lacking it. I sprayed this with fire retardant and hosed and hosed and hosed, drained my dams, and I just hung here for the majority of the whole night. So, yeah, I basically saved my home. And when I was standing here hosing, look, my hair's all singed, and yeah, it was right here above. Look, it's that high, bearing down on me. It was like an inferno. It was like the apocalypse, mate. It was like hell on earth. I really feel sorry for so many people. There's so many nice people that it's carnage, mate. Every second house on this road's gone. The whole of Fricka Road's gone. Village gone. And surrounding houses, I guarantee most of Nimboida are going to be displaced because they're going to have nowhere to live. I know it was a catastrophic fire, but there's no water bombers. I actually had no one come up here to notify me. I got it on a text, but I lost my phone, so how are you meant to know, you know? And yeah, I'm just glad that I'm safe. And like I said, I'm really sorry for every person in this whole area that's lost out so much stuff. My heart bleeds for them. There's nothing that the fireys could have done. They do the best job, considering they're so undermanned, they're not paid, and yeah, and so understaffed, mate. It should be made law in school, I reckon, that you do a firefighting course here in Australia. So if it takes time, everybody can pitch in instead of just relying on a certain few. But, you know, government and their politics, you know, Mr. Morrison, well, I hope you can see this, Mr. Morrison, because I want you to come and have a look and see what it's been destroyed, you know. You sit there in your high and mighty office with, you know, your big pay. Look at all these farmers here that have nothing now, who are suffering in the drought, and now are definitely devastated. We might not come back from it.
I'm still gathering thoughts, trying to remember that what it was that I actually did see, whether or not I could believe what I saw. It was an unprecedented event. I don't think I can articulate exactly what I felt, but it's something that's never happened to this degree, certainly here, and it was devastating. It was a storm. It wasn't a fire. It was a storm. It was a firestorm. Nimboida is a small, close community. Everyone knows everyone, and the community, when evacuated, were obviously, devastated, and a lot of people stayed, and a lot of those people have managed to save their homes, but that we haven't counted. We don't know. Still, there is a lot of work to do. I can't give a figure, but the evidence at the moment of your own eyes speaks for itself. A lot of main buildings, the school, and the canoe centre, the hall, they managed to survive.
Walked outside my house about 3 o'clock. I could smell a bit of smoke, so I walked back in and grabbed Jack and my wife and said, I can smell smoke. We went out. My brother lives across the road, and I could see a big plume. Just in seconds it showed up. So we zoomed down the back of his place, and the fire was there, but it was coming towards us, so we drove back up about 2 k's, and by the time we got up there, it was into our place. We went down and saved. I live next door to my parents. We saved Mum and Dad's house and the people across the road's house, but we couldn't save ours.
How intense was it?
It was unbelievable. I used to be a group captain in the Rural Fire Service in the Blue Mountains, and I've seen many fires. That was probably the worst one I've ever seen in my life. It was just unbelievable.
It must have been terrifying, because obviously you couldn't leave?
No. And we were on our own. There was unfortunately no fire brigades to help us, no helicopters or anything. But look, we just did our best, saved Mum and Dad's house, so at least we got somewhere to stay. And it just was so intense. It was just unbelievable. I just can't explain how bad it was.
We all went up to the hall, and we were just standing, making sure that the hall didn't get on fire, and then there was a spot fire. It was only about 200 metres, and it just grew, and it just went around the hall, and when it came down there, and then it went across to the stove, and then when I came down on the car, all this was alight. And Kim's house is gone.
This must have happened so quickly.
it did. I couldn't believe how quickly it went. And everyone was scurrying, taking off up the road. Then they knew they couldn't get through, so they turned around, and that's when because I was sitting up by the fence outside the school, and then I thought, well, what am I going to do? And then when I saw the cars going past, I just followed them back. And then we got back to our house, and we were more safer there. But as you go along the road, it's just been an inferno everywhere. You know, and I haven't lost my home, but there's so many people that have lost their homes.
We left about 9 o'clock. We were evacuated. Was actually charged on the ferry, even though that's the way we were told to evacuate. That's probably the worst that we went through. Here has been absolutely amazing at the library, and we were all safe and well. That's the most important thing.
New South Wales and Queensland are facing an unprecedented fire emergency. In a moment, we'll be getting updates from our reporters on the ground. But first, let's take a look at what we do know. In Queensland, 2 emergency warnings are in place. One for a fire burning west of Yeppoon in central Queensland. This fire is burning near the town of Cobrable, and residents in Adelaide Park should seek shelter now. There are reports of damage to property, and it's believed multiple homes have been destroyed in the Cobrable area. A fire emergency has been declared for 42 local government areas, stretching from Gold Coast to Rockhampton and as far north as Cairns. Now, an emergency warning has been reinstated for a fire burning at Koroiba Ringtail Creek, where residents have been advised to leave immediately. And people at Tewantin and Noosa North Shore are advised to stay informed. Meanwhile, Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk has urged residents to remain vigilant and says the threat is far from over.
There are over 382 vehicles on the ground and over 1,200 firefighters. And of course, we've got our volunteers, our rural fire service, everybody is out helping, doing everything they possibly can. And we're not out of the woods yet because there's going to be constant fire danger over the next week, right up until Friday, with Wednesday being a very serious day. Over 35 aircraft have been operational, and in some good news, the residents of Tewantin have gone home, and hopefully this afternoon, fingers crossed, we'll be able to give some more good news to the residents of North Shore. I want to thank everybody who's been involved. This has been a big task, and as we know, Queensland does not usually have this fire season like we've experienced this year and last year. We've had a briefing today from the Bureau as well, and we're not expecting much rainfall as well until December and on to next year. It's been a big task, and also to as Premier of Queensland, I want to also pass on our best wishes to all of those fire crews and everything working in New South Wales as well. We know that they are having an extremely difficult time at the moment, and having experienced those catastrophic type fires last year, our hearts go out to the people of New South Wales, and we wish them all the very best in the coming days dealing with those fires as well.
Reporter Megan Hendry has more on the situation near Yeppoon in Queensland.
This fire broke out about midday yesterday and quickly became out of control. It moved in a southeasterly direction in the Cobrable area yesterday afternoon, and during that time it covered 6,500 hectares over last night. We know that at least 16 structures have been lost overnight, and some of those include homes. There is still currently an emergency warning for the Adelaide Park area. Authorities are saying it is too late to leave that area, and residents that remain in that area should seek shelter. Here's some of what the authorities are telling us.
Unfortunately, what we're seeing is extreme fire behaviour, and under these conditions, structures are very hard to protect, if not undefendable. So our priority right now is on the community and our firefighters. The activities we're undertaking are based around removing people and taking them into a safe location. There are some areas within the fire footprint that are unsafe to leave, so we're advising residents to shelter in place. We have quite a number of assets, aerial assets deployed to the fire, 10 aircraft currently working on the fire, along with about 40 or so fire trucks. So our people have worked really, really well through the night and done an extremely good job to contain the fire to the best of their ability. Unfortunately, the conditions that we're seeing today with an easterly change are pushing the fire to the west. So the flank of the fire that was about 14 kilometres long yesterday is now the front of the fire. So that's requiring greater resourcing, a focus on life and property and protecting the safety of the community and our people.
So, Megan, the danger has returned there after a very difficult night for people in the community. Just how are they dealing with this situation?
Residents here certainly have had a harrowing 24 hours. At this stage, many of them haven't been able to find out whether their homes are still standing. We know, as I said, that 16 structures have been lost and authorities are expecting that there could be more today.
And Megan, with the conditions there changing throughout the day, what is the outlook though? Because we are hearing warnings that Wednesday in particular is expected to be particularly bad across Queensland.
We certainly are expecting high temperatures on Wednesday, but for now the focus is certainly on this afternoon and fighting this fire here where it can be fought. As you know, there are some areas that are undefendable at this stage, and with an easterly change in the wind, the fire is being pushed west towards a number of urban residential areas. So firefighting efforts are certainly being focused on that area today, and as we move forward over the coming days, firefighters are preparing to accrue their resources over the coming days.
Returning to New South Wales, and 3 people are confirmed to have died. 5 people who were unaccounted for have now been found safe and well. More than 150 homes have been destroyed, but authorities expect that number to increase once fire grounds are more easily accessed. And there are currently at least 72 blazes burning in New South Wales. One fire at Johns River, south of Port Macquarie, has an emergency warning in place. There are also 11 fires at watch and act level.
More than 70 fires burning across the state. The most intensive of those are around the north and far north region of the coast. However, over the next coming days, conditions are going to deteriorate. So as much as they can, they're going to be working really hard to try to contain those fires. Now, I do just have an update as well that the Watch and Act, the number of fires at Watch and Act is actually now at 9. So that's really good news for the crews, who've obviously been able to make a bit of, take a bit of ground there. However, they are warning that this is still a really dangerous situation right across New South Wales, especially for that mid-north coast, north and far north coastal regions. Today, there is that easing in conditions. We're not seeing those really gusty winds that we saw on Friday, and temperatures have come down quite a lot, which is really great, and that's being able to give those firefighters those favourable conditions so that they can try to do as much backburning across the state as is actually possible. And they're also playing with a lot of residents to try to make sure that their property is also safe because come Tuesday, conditions are going to be very, very serious. And the Deputy Commissioner, Rob Rogers, made some mention of this a little earlier.
The areas in the north coast where we've already got fires, we're quite concerned about what those fires will do on that day. We're looking at temperatures in the high 30s, very low humidity, strong westerly winds, and though we know what those fires have done just the other day, and we know that's going to happen again, we'll be coming out with specific advice to areas there as to how prepared those areas are and how safe those areas are, and what we can do to ensure that we're as ready as we can be on Tuesday to support those areas already being threatened by fire, as well as those areas that could get new fires.
The Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, and New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian have visited an evacuation centre in Taree to announce financial help for people affected by the bushfires. The money will be provided to those people whose homes have been severely damaged or destroyed, as well as for those who've been seriously injured or lost a family member. The Prime Minister says the payment is $1,000 per adult and $400 per child.
On an official matter, we had commenced at midday today the two arms of support. I mentioned them yesterday, and that's the $1,000 for eligible adults and $400 for eligible children, which is coming through the disaster recovery payment. That is already been actioned, and the other payment, which has been extended, and these are in the areas largely from the Queensland border down through here: Glennis, Severn, Kempsey, Mid Coast, Nambucca, Port Macquarie, and Hastings, and the Walker local government areas. We also have the disaster recovery allowance, and that's the payment made to people for up to 13 weeks of income support where they have a loss of income. I also want to thank the employers for their understanding for those firefighters who are out there, and ask them for their continued support of our firefighters. If they can't come to work tomorrow or the day after or the day after that, then I would ask you to continue to support them in that. I thank you for the way you've supported them. They'll have to be there running their businesses, and they'll be doing it a bit short-handed, but they're putting their effort in by allowing those volunteers to do the work they're doing here in a centre like this, or out on the fires, or in the Incident Response Management Centre.